If I were your president, my first policy would be to go to a flat tax rate at 20%. The reasons I'd go to a flat tax rate is because it creates unity. There's no one class that's getting taxed more than the other at a higher percentage due to the amount of income they bring. Another thing that would come with a flat tax policy is that we would simplify the code. Right now, there's like a 750-page tax code that no one even knows or understands, and that's how people are able to find loopholes and are able to be rich but still pay lower taxes than the middle-income family. Under a flat tax policy, there'd only be 3 deductions. Post-secondary school, so going to college or anything like that, you get a deduction. Charitable donations, so giving to charity would allow you to get a deduction, but it would be capped out at $1,200 because that's the average income, or that's the average amount of charity that the average American gives. And the third deduction would be promoting sustainability. So anything along the lines of like solar panels on buildings, or just anything that's sustainable and that helps the environment. If you're under the poverty line, there's alternatives to paying taxes. So doing community service or working for a charity, anything like that is an alternative to paying your taxes. And the last thing is, if welfare is your only form of income, we can't tax that. So like, if you're on disability and that's your only income, we won't tax that.
If I were president, I would make every state have more green on their land and more things as beautiful as possible and facilities so people could actually go outside and communicate with each other and socialize more than they do inside their home. I would think that people would have more pride and cultural ground for their city, for where they live. It would affect our community as people interacting more, and it would be positive for us. Viking laws in Denmark in 2013 were one of the lowest pollution rate countries in the world, and if I were president, I would change that and have more people and more pollution in this world to make it
better. As United States president, I would change universal health care. I would change this because it would benefit us socially, economically, and it would just make us healthier as a country. Yes, as a private insurance country, we're doing fine, but just the expenses are too much and is unacceptable. People should be able to go to the hospital knowing that they're able to be healthy and be able to just, be happy with their bodies, instead of waiting, knowing that they're going to have to pay for the insurance just because they can't get it for free. And it's very sad. Last year, 7% of universal expenses from the United States were thrown away. And in other countries, it's minimized to 2.3. This is unacceptable. We must have all the exchanges be positive. And we must be able to afford it. Everyone must be able to afford universal health care. That's why it's universal health care. Also, last year, or in 2013, there was 30% of 18 to 25-year-old Asian men who were covered. And then in 2014, only 23% of those lasted. In the beginning of 2013, 65-year-old men and plus were at 15%. In 2014, 10%. This is unacceptable. Me as president, I will make universal health care.
Hello, fellow Americans. I come to you today to present to you my ideas as if I were your president. If I were your president, I'd make sure we have free education. Not necessarily free education for 12 years, but education past high school. Education that is more important to our lives and is more sufficient to what we do after high school. I want to make sure that every student in the country right now has the opportunity to be able to go to college and succeed. I know there are many students in high school that are currently in a bunch with their finances. I know that a lot of students are struggling financially, even though they're working hard in the classroom, they cannot succeed outside because they do not have the money to do so. I think this is a big problem in the United States and it must be changed. I feel that if our country is so developed, we should at least spend more money and more time on our students. I feel that if our education becomes stronger as we go along, we will become a stronger country, economically, politically, and everything else, socially. Everything else will become better if we could improve our education. Every year we have become worse and worse and worse, and I want to change that. I want to make sure that every student has the opportunity to be able to attend college for free. There are many colleges around the world that just could pay with 2% of their endowments to have all of their students go there for free. I think endowments which can be paid by these colleges can be easily attained by these colleges and by the country. A country that spends about 20% on military and 4% on education. Kind of makes me mad, and I know it probably makes you mad as well. I feel that our students need this education. How do you know that maybe somewhere in these kids' head holds the idea of the cancer? What if the cure for these infectious diseases hides in the minds of a student that cannot afford to go to college? A student that cannot afford to go to college cannot let his ideas sink into the real world. Let it be told to everybody if he cannot afford. This is just so disgraceful to our country that so many kids have such great ideas, but they just cannot succeed because of the money that their parents do not have, money that they do not control. This just needs to be changed, and if I were your president, that'd be for sure.